The Garden of Second Chances. There once lived a man named Elias, who had become weary with the weight of his past. He was not a bad man by nature. He had simply made mistakes, sharp words spoken in anger, relationships left to rot in silence, promises broken not out of malice, but weakness. And over time, his regrets clung to him like vines around an old stone wall, impossible to shake off. One evening, wandering the edge of the forest near his cottage, Elias noticed something strange: a narrow path overgrown with ivy that he had never seen before. Drawn by a quiet whisper in his heart, he followed it. At the end of the path lay an arched wooden gate, its iron hinges rusted but intact. Above it, a hand-carved sign read, "The Garden of Second Chances." Curious and strangely compelled, Elias stepped through. Inside was a vast, quiet garden unlike any he had ever seen. But there were no roses, no fruit trees, no fountains or statues. Instead, everywhere he looked were wilted, twisted, and dying plants. Some grew in tangled confusion, some drooped as if ashamed, and others had bloomed once, briefly, before curling into themselves in sorrow. A gentle breeze carried the scent of rain and earth. Then a voice, calm and steady, came from behind him. "Welcome," said an old woman, clothed in moss-green robes. "You've brought many seeds with you." Elias blinked. "I didn't bring anything." She smiled gently. "Ah, but you did. Every regret is a seed. And this," she gestured to the garden, "is where they grow." Elias turned slowly, taking in the expanse of sorrowful flora. "All these are mine," she nodded. "Some were planted years ago. Others more recently. Each time you held on to pain or guilt or anger, it took root here." He looked closer at one plant, a thorny bush with one withered bloom. As he touched it, a memory struck him: his younger brother David calling him for help when their mother fell ill. Elias had been too busy that night. She died before he arrived. He staggered back, heart pounding. "I didn't know that it lived on." "They always do," said the woman. "But the garden doesn't only hold sorrow. It offers something else if you are willing." She handed him a small trowel and a watering can. "You can tend to them." "What good would that do?" Elias asked bitterly. "The past can't be undone." "No," she said, kneeling beside a drooping vine, "but wounds can be understood, lessons can be learned, and hearts can be made whole again." Elias hesitated, then knelt beside the thorn bush. He remembered David's voice, tired, cracking with emotion, and how he had ignored it, convincing himself it wasn't urgent. For the first time, Elias didn't flinch from the truth. He whispered, "I was afraid. I didn't know how to face losing her, and I thought I had time." As he spoke, the thorn bush shimmered softly, and a small green shoot emerged from the center. The old woman smiled. "Healing begins when we face the root, not just the surface." Day after day, Elias returned. Each plant brought a memory, some small, like forgetting a friend's birthday when they needed him most, others heavier, like a love he pushed away out of pride. For each, he offered no excuses, only truth and care. The more he tended, the more the garden changed. Some plants bloomed in soft colors, others transformed completely. What once was gnarled and bitter now stood tall and strong, with silver-veined leaves or glowing petals. There was one section, however, that remained untouched, a bare patch of cracked soil in the center of the garden. No plants grew there, only silence. Elias asked the woman about it. "That," she said softly, "is where yourself must be planted." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "You've tended the regrets born from what you did to others," she said, "but you have yet to forgive the man who made them." Elias froze. In all his work, he had spoken to the past, made peace with faces and moments, but never with himself. He returned to the empty patch and sat in its center. The air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. "I was cruel," he whispered. "I ran from pain. I judged too quickly. I failed people." The wind stirred. "I also tried to be better," he said, tears beginning to fall. "I stayed when I could have left. I learned. I'm still learning." He took a breath and with trembling fingers dug a hole in the dry soil. Into it he dropped a single seed, marked not with a regret but with a hope. "I forgive you," he said aloud to himself. Then he watered it. Nothing happened at first, but over the next few days, a small plant emerged, simple, delicate, with leaves like tiny hearts, and it grew. The woman stood beside him, watching. "That," she said, "is the most important thing you will ever grow here." Years passed. Elias continued tending the garden of second chances. It was never perfect. New regrets arrived, new weeds formed, But the soil was richer now, the roots stronger. Where once there was only guilt, now there was growth. One morning, he awoke and found the garden gate wide open. The woman was gone. But etched into the wood where her sign had once been were new words. Your garden is within you now. Let it bloom wherever you walk. Elias smiled, placed a hand over his heart, and stepped back into the world, not as a man buried in regrets, but as one who had learned how to turn sorrow into soil and mistakes into the seeds of a wiser life. You can't change your past, but you can tend to its garden. Every regret is an opportunity, not to punish yourself, but to grow.